The arena buzzed with electric anticipation, a sea of faces illuminated by the stark glare of overhead lights, their cheers swelling like a tidal wave as the announcer's voice cut through the noise, introducing the lightweight showdown between KEYSHAWN Davis of the United States and Miguel Madueno of Mexico. The air was thick with tension, the kind that settles into your bones when two fighters, each carrying the weight of their nation's pride, step into the ring. Davis, undefeated, a prodigy from Norfolk, Virginia, with a record of 10-0, moved. With the quiet confidence of a man who danced this dance before, his Olympic pedigree gleaming like a badge of honor. Madueno, the battle-hardened warrior from Tijuana, stood at 30-2, his eyes burning with the resolve of a man who'd seen the canvas and risen every time. This wasn't just a fight. It was a collision of styles, of wills, of dreams. The bell rang, and round one erupted with the ferocity of a storm breaking. Davis, lean and fluid, glided across the ring, his feet barely touching the canvas, a master of angles. His jab snapped out, quick as a whip, catching Madueno's cheek, a warning shot that set the tone. The Mexican, undeterred, pressed forward, his stance low, his shoulders hunched like a bull ready to charge. He absorbed the jab, his head barely moving, and fired back with a thudding body shot, aiming to slow the American's rhythm. The crowd roared, sensing the chess match unfolding, Davis's precision against Madueno's relentless pressure. Every step was calculated, every feint a test. Davis circled, his hands a blur, popping another jab, then a second, each one landing with a crispness that echoed through the arena. Madueno, unfazed, pushed inside, his fists churning, landing a grazing hook to Davis's ribs. It wasn't clean, but it was a message. I'm here, and I'm not backing down. As the round closed, the fighters touched gloves, a fleeting moment of respect before the war resumed. The commentators' voices crackled over the broadcast, one noting Davis's slick footwork, the other praising Madueno's dogged pursuit. The crowd split between chants of USA and Mexico, leaned forward, hungry for more. Round two saw Davis settle into his groove, his movements almost balletic, weaving left, then right, his head slipping just out of reach of Madueno's looping right hand. The American's confidence grew, his jab now a piston, firing in doubles and triples, each one stinging Madueno's face. But the Mexican was no novice. He'd fought tougher battles, faced harder punches. He ducked low, bobbing under a straight right, and countered with a vicious left to Davis's midsection, a shot that drew a collective gasp from the crowd. Davis's face tightened, but he didn't retreat. Instead, he answered with a sharp 1-2, the right hand clipping Madueno's chin, sending a spray of sweat into the air. The fight was a study in contrasts. Davis, the technician, moved like water, flowing around Madueno's aggression, his punches surgical, each one placed with intent. Madueno, the brawler, was a force of nature, his attacks less precise, but heavy with purpose, every swing carrying the weight of his resolve. By round three, the pace had quickened, the crowd on its feet as Davis landed a dazzling combination, a jab, cross, then a slick uppercut that snapped Madueno's head back. The Mexican grinned, as if to say, "Is that all?" and charged forward, throwing a wild overhand right that missed but forced Davis to reset. The exchange was electric, a flurry of fists that left the audience breathless. Davis's speed was mesmerizing, his ability to slip punches almost supernatural, but Madueno's heart was undeniable, his willingness to walk through fire, earning roars of approval. Round four brought a shift. Madueno, sensing he needed to change the narrative, began cutting off the ring, his footwork less graceful but effective, trapping Davis against the ropes. The American, unfazed, used his shoulder to roll a hook, then pivoted out, landing a counter left that caught Madueno off guard. The crowd erupted, the moment replayed in slow motion on the arena's big screens, Davis's glove connecting. Madueno's eyes widening for a split second. But the Mexican was relentless, shaking it off and charging again, his fists hammering at Davis's guard, searching for an opening. A right hand grazed Davis's temple, not enough to hurt, but enough to remind him of the danger. The bell rang, and both fighters returned to their corners, their chests heaving, their faces marked with the early signs of battle-red welts blooming on Madueno's cheek, a slight swelling under Davis's eye. The middle rounds were a war of attrition. Davis leaned on his jab, using it to control distance, keeping Madueno at bay while setting up his combinations. In round 5, he landed a picture-perfect counter uppercut, his glove catching Madueno's chin as the Mexican lunged forward. The impact was thunderous, the crowd leaping to its feet, but Madueno's legs held firm, his durability a testament to his grit. He fired back with a looping left, missing narrowly, but forcing Davis to respect his power. The American's game plan was clear. Stick and move. Don't get caught in a firefight. But Madueno thrived in chaos, his pressure relentless, his body shots thudding against Davis's ribs, each one a sledgehammer meant to sap the younger fighter's energy. By round 6, the fight had settled into a brutal rhythm. Davis's speed gave him the edge in exchanges, his combinations landing cleaner, his footwork keeping him just out of reach. But Madueno's pressure was wearing, his constant forward march, forcing Davis to expend energy to stay safe. A clash of heads in a clinch left both fighters wincing, the referee pausing the action to check for cuts. None were found, and the fight resumed with even greater intensity. Madueno landed a solid right to Davis's body, the kind of punch that could steal breath, but Davis answered with a 3-punch flurry jab, cross, hook that sent Madueno's head rocking back. The crowd was in a frenzy, the noise deafening, as the fighters traded blows in the center of the ring, neither willing to yield. Round 7 saw Davis take control, his confidence peaking as he began to pick Madueno apart. A double jab set up a blistering right hand that landed flush, Madueno's knees dipping slightly, but recovering fast. The Mexican's response was pure. Heart he walked through the punishment, throwing a wild combination that forced Davis to cover up. The exchange was a microcosm of the fight, Davis's artistry against Madueno's raw tenacity. The commentators marveled at Davis's poise, his ability to stay composed under pressure, but they couldn't ignore Madueno's spirit, his refusal to let the fight slip away. As the round ended, both fighters raised their gloves, acknowledging. The crowd's roar, their mutual respect evident even in the heat of battle. Round 8 was a turning point. Madueno, perhaps sensing he was behind on points, came out swinging, his fists flying with reckless abandon. A looping right caught Davis on the shoulder, not clean, but enough to disrupt his rhythm. The American reset, circling away, then fired a counter combination that stopped Madueno in his tracks, a jab, followed by a vicious left hook that landed with a crack. Madueno's legs wobbled, the first real sign of vulnerability, but he clenched. His jaw and pressed forward, landing a body shot that drew a grunt from Davis. The crowd was on edge, sensing the fight could turn on a single punch. Davis, ever the tactician, refused to brawl, slipping back into his rhythm, his jabs snapping like a metronome, keeping Madueno at bay. The later rounds tested both fighters' resolve. In round 9, Davis's speed began to overwhelm his combinations, flowing effortlessly, each punch landing with precision. Madueno, blood now trickling from a cut above his eye, fought on, his punches slower, but still heavy, his heart carrying him through. A right hand from Madueno grazed Davis's chin, a reminder of the danger still present, but Davis answered. With a flurry that left Madueno covering up, the crowd chanting his name. Round 10 was more of the same, Davis dictating the pace, Madueno refusing to quit, their gloves meeting in a series